Hello everyone, this is Colonel S and welcome back to another Redstone tutorial. Today we are building my much requested 10 by 12 sand door. This thing is absolutely massive. I posted a YouTube short of it a few days ago and I got a pretty good response to it, so I'm making a tutorial on it today. So when I come over here and I flick this lever, this door will begin to open up. It does take a little while because it is a very large door. But the second you flick the lever, the pistons do start retracting. So as you can see, they'll go down, and then eventually the blocks will fall. Then, when I flick the lever again, it'll all close back up. Fair warning, this door is very expensive to build and takes up a lot of space, as you can see. But it is also a very fun door to build and can be applicable to many different circumstances, like castle entrances or big storage facilities. As I said, this door is very expensive. These are all the materials you'll be needing to build this door. There is a lot of blocks and a lot of redstone, so make sure you have enough for that. A lot of these blocks are for scaffolding purposes, but there are plenty in the door itself. I would also recommend having a stack or two of scaffolding because there will be a lot of traveling up and down while building this door, since most of it is spiraling redstone that goes from the bottom of the door all the way up to the top. Also, one more note, this door is 20 blocks from the bottommost redstone component all the way to floor level inclusively, so just make sure you have enough space when you dig down to make your door. And without further ado, let's get on to the tutorial. The first step in this tutorial is to place 12 redstone in a line like this. Then, on top of the redstone, place observers facing toward you. Make sure there is one observer above each redstone dust. Then we're going to repeat this pattern 7 more times. So 12 redstone on top of the observers, and then 12 observers on top of each redstone. Once you have done that, you should have something that looks like this. As you can see, there are 8 total lines of observers. And to finish this off, we're going to come up to the top line of observers and place 12 more redstone. The next step is to come around to the back of what we just built and place a line of 12 blocks behind the redstone on the bottom. Then, place redstone on top of each block. We are once again going to repeat this pattern 7 more times, so blocks stretching all the way across, and then redstone on top, all the way until we are just below the last line of observers. Once you have filled in all 8 layers, it should look like this. And then to finish this part off, we're going to come up to the top and place one more line of 12 blocks to cut off the redstone on top of these blocks from the redstone on these observers. The next step in this process is to place in all of our pistons. So we're going to come down to the bottom of our door here, and we're going to place a line of 12 upward-facing sticky pistons. And then we're going to repeat that 8 more times, so that should be a 9 by 12 grid of upward-facing sticky pistons. Once you've placed them all in, it should look like this. As you can see, we have 9 layers of sticky pistons here. And then on top of all of these, we're going to place 1 layer of non-sticky regular pistons. So in the end, you should have a 10 by 12 array of pistons. After all the pistons have been placed in, come down to the 3rd piston from the top and place a line of 12 target blocks. It is very important that these are target blocks. On top of this line of target blocks, we are also going to place a line of 12 redstone dust. We are then going to repeat this 3 more times. So line of target blocks, line of redstone, line of target blocks, line of redstone, and then finally 1 more line of target blocks and 1 more line of redstone. Once all these are placed in, the last line of target blocks should align with the second to last line of observers. Next, we're going to come down below this first line of target blocks and build out one from it, like this, and then place a line of 12 blocks directly below and diagonally from these target blocks. On top of these blocks, we're also going to place a line of 12 redstone. We are also going to repeat this pattern 4 times. So line of blocks, line of redstone, line of blocks, line of redstone, and finally, one more line of blocks and a final line of redstone. After the final repetition of this pattern, make sure you go above it and place one more line of blocks without redstone on top, just so that this is disconnected from this. Next, we are going to come to this last line of blocks that we just placed and place 1, 2, 3 blocks on top of it, and then an inward-facing sticky piston facing over toward the other side of the observers, and we are going to extend this sticky piston line out 11 more, so all the way to the end of what we've built. Next, we are going to go to this last line of blocks that we just built, and we're going to build up 1, 2, 3 more blocks, and then place a sticky piston facing over toward the other side of the door. We can now break these 3 blocks, and then next to this one, we're going to build 11 more facing in the same direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And this should line up with the edge of the door. After the pistons are in place, we're going to place a block on each one of them. Just like that. Next, we're going to come around to the other side of the door, and directly across from these pistons, we're going to build out 1 block and then place obsidian. You can then destroy this block that you used to build out, and then place a line of 11 more obsidian directly in line with the pistons. Next, we're going to go behind the obsidian here, and on top of this line of blocks, we're going to make another line of 12 blocks. And on each of these blocks, we're going to have a repeater facing in toward the obsidian. Make sure each repeater is set to 1 tick. Next, we're going to come behind these repeaters and place a line of blocks, and then redstone on top of the blocks, just behind the repeaters. Next, we are going to build the closing circuit for the door. So to do this, we're going to come all the way down to the bottom on the right side of the door. So the target block should be in the front, and we're coming to the right side. And we're going to place a block 3 blocks away from this redstone here. So there should be 2 blocks in between, and it'll be the 3rd. Behind this block, we're going to have a 4-tick repeater running directly into it. After this repeater is placed, we are going to start a pattern of spiraling redstone, so make sure you watch carefully, because this pattern needs to be replicated perfectly every time. We're going to start by placing redstone here on the right side of this block, and then to the right of the redstone, another block with redstone on top of it, and then another solid block with a 4-tick repeater facing in the opposite direction of this repeater. In front of that repeater, there's going to be another solid block, and then to the right of this block, there will be a glass block with redstone on top of it. And then next to this redstone, there's going to be another solid block with redstone on top of it. And then the pattern repeats and continues. So here, there's going to be a 4-tick repeater, just like there is below it. And then in front of that, a solid block. And then even though there's not a glass block here, we have to make sure that you use a glass block every time you are in the center like this. So a glass block with redstone on top of it. And then a solid block in front of that with redstone on top of it, and then another solid block, and another 4-tick repeater, and the pattern continues. Make sure you're paying close attention to what you're placing, because one wrong placement can cause the whole thing to break. When you're finished, you should have a tower that looks exactly like this. with the last repeater that you placed being directly in line with this line of repeaters here. Next, starting back down from the bottom, in front of each of these blocks in the pattern, you're going to place a 2-tick repeater. You're going to do this all the way until you reach the last line of observers. Next, we're going to go back down to the bottom, and starting from where this repeater is, we're going to count out 1, 2, 3, and place a block right here. On the back side of this block, there's going to be a redstone torch, and above that torch, another block, and then on that block, another torch. We are going to repeat this pattern all the way up until we are directly in line with this line of redstone right here. So it's going to be a block with a torch, and then another block with another torch, all the way up. We are going to build this torch tower all the way up until the block you place is on the same level as the line here. Then we are going to come to this face of this block here and place a torch here, a block above it, a block to the side of it here with redstone on top. And then finally, we're going to place another block directly to the side of that redstone. Next, we are going to come back down to the bottom, and on each of these blocks here, we're going to place a piston facing in toward the rest of the pistons, and a block on the face of the piston. So on each of these, a piston and a block. Once you are done with all that, we are going to come back down to the bottom here, and we're going to connect this part to this part. So over here, we're going to place a line of redstone dust all the way along here and connect it up to this repeater. And then after that, go back to this spot, place a block above it, and to this spot and place a block above that. That is the first half of the closing sequence done. Now we're going to come over to the front side of the door here, and we're going to go down to this bottommost redstone line. We're going to build out one block, and then in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th block is going to be glass. You can then break all the rest of these blocks. We are now going to start another pattern of spiraling redstone. So on top of this block, we're going to place redstone, and then 2 blocks out this way, each with 4-tick repeaters on top of them, and then a block in front of this repeater, glass with redstone on top of it to the right of that block, and then a block next to this redstone. On top of that block, there's going to be more redstone, and then once again, out 2 blocks with 2 4-tick repeaters, 1 on each, a block in front of those repeaters, and a glass block with redstone on top of it right here, and then another solid block to the side of it, and the pattern repeats from there, with redstone here, 2 blocks here, 2 4-tick repeaters, a block in front of those repeaters, a glass block with redstone to the side of that block, a solid block here with redstone on top of it, and then 2 blocks each with 4-tick repeaters. This pattern will repeat until we are on the same level as this redstone line right here. As you can see, once we're done with this lines up perfectly with our line of redstone right here. The next step is to come back down to this glass block here and extend out 2 blocks, then come back up and place 2 4-tick repeaters facing this direction away from the redstone. Then, in front of this repeater, place a block, and on the side of the block, place a sticky piston facing toward the redstone, and on the face of that sticky piston, place an observer also facing toward the redstone. We're going to repeat this structure 3 more times on each level of the spiral that we built. So next, we're going to come up to the 2nd level, place 2 blocks, 2 4-tick repeaters, a block on the end of the repeaters, a piston facing toward the redstone, and an observer facing toward the redstone. Once you're done with that, it should look like this. As you can see, we have 4 of these modules. Next, we're going to come to the other side of our spiral here, and below this block, we're going to extend out 2 blocks like this. So below and diagonally from this, 2 more blocks. Each of these blocks is going to have redstone on them. And then in front of the redstone, there's going to be another sticky piston with an observer facing toward the redstone. We are going to repeat this pattern 3 more times as well. So 2 blocks here and here, redstone here and here, and then sticky piston and observer both facing toward the target block redstone. Finally, to finish off the closing sequence, we're going to come up to the top here where we placed these blocks here. We're going to place a piston on the side of that block facing toward the spiral, a block on the end of that piston, and then we're going to come out here and directly above this 2-tick repeater, we're going to have a block with redstone on it. And then next to that redstone, there's going to be another solid block. And then over here, we're going to have another block with a 1-tick repeater on it. And right here, we're going to have a glass block with redstone on it. Alright, now that we've finished the closing circuit, we can go over and start the opening circuit. The first thing we're going to do is come all the way down to the bottom and find this redstone line. And we're going to go 4 blocks away from it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the 5th space here, we're going to place a block, and that's the only one we're going to keep. So to start, we're going to come all the way down to the bottom redstone line, and we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks away and place a block right here. Then, behind this block, we're going to put a 4-tick repeater and redstone dust behind that repeater. And for this part of the door, we're going to build the exact same spiral redstone pattern that we built in the first part of the door. So it's going to be after this block, redstone dust here, a block next to it with redstone dust on top, another block with a 4-tick repeater, in front of that repeater, another block, and then here, a glass block with redstone on top of it, and then next to that redstone, another block with redstone on top of it, and then here, a block with a repeater, and this one will finish when we reach the same level as this redstone line right here. You can stop this spiral once you get to this point here. The next step is to come back down to the bottom here, and on this block you're going to place a sticky piston facing toward the rest of the redstone and an observer facing in the same direction. Then we're going to repeat this on all of these blocks throughout the pattern. So sticky piston, observer, sticky piston, observer, all the way up. Once you're done, it should look something like this. Next, come back down to the bottom here and place a 4-tick repeater directly running into this redstone. And then we're going to place one 4-tick repeater in front of each redstone line like this. So you'll have to put a block under it and then a 4-tick repeater on top of it, running directly into these redstone lines on the observers. Next, we're going to come back down to the bottom again, and we're going to space ourselves one block from this and place a block right here. Then we're going to build a similar spiral redstone pattern, but instead it's almost as if it's in reverse. Instead of the redstone signal traveling up the tower, it's going to start from the top and travel down. So we're going to start this pattern by placing a 3-tick repeater right here. Behind that repeater, we're going to have redstone there, a block with redstone on it here, and then a block here. Then behind this block, we're going to have a 3-tick repeater, and the repeater is going to run into this block, and then a glass block behind that with redstone on top of it. Next to that, another block with redstone on top, and next to that redstone, another block, and then the pattern repeats. So we're going to have another repeater running into this block here, 3 ticks. Behind that, a glass block with redstone on top, a full block with redstone on top here, and then next to that redstone, another block. This pattern is going to continue all the way up until we reach the same level as this last one here. Once you get to this point, you can stop this spiral pattern, so it should be one block above this right here. Future Kernel S here. I realized that when I put this block here, I accidentally made it a solid block. Just make sure that you do make this a glass block behind this final repeater. For these two spirals, ensure that the repeaters are pointing in the correct direction, or else the spirals will not work. In both of them, the repeaters should be pointing directly into a solid block. So as you can see on that side, it's pointing into a solid block, and on that side, it is also pointing into a solid block. And then the same thing on this tower. Next, we have to go down and connect these two towers to each other. So we're going to do that by just coming back here and placing redstone dust behind this redstone dust in the pattern. So for each one, you have to place a block and then redstone dust. Do this all the way up to the top. Next, we're going to come to the side of the door here where the target blocks are, and we're going to build out and up diagonally like this, and we're going to place 7 total blocks counting this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on top of each of these blocks, there's going to be redstone dust. Then we're going to come down below this 7th block here and place one out like this with redstone on top of it. In front of this redstone line, we're going to build our pulse extender that tells these pistons up here when to fire. This is a design by Exumavoid. So we're going to start by placing a block here in front of this redstone, and then a torch on this face of the block. Then we're going to go up above it. We're going to place a hopper facing into this block here, and then we're going to break that block, and then we're going to put a hopper facing in toward the other hopper. Then, on both sides of the hoppers, we're going to extend out one block like this, and on each block, we're going to have a comparator that reads the hopper, so the 2 prongs should be toward the hopper. Next, we're going to come to the comparator on the left here, place a block here and redstone in front of the comparator, and then on this face of the block, we're going to have a torch, and then in front of that torch, we're going to have a block with redstone on it like this, so the redstone should be directly in front of the torch. Then we're going to place another block here with redstone on top of it, and then directly in front of the redstone, we're going to have another block. Then we're going to come around to this side of the block, and we're going to have a 1-tick repeater running directly into this block. And finally, on this face of the block, we're going to have a redstone torch right there. And then we're going to put a block right here with redstone on top of it that connects to the torch and to this block. Finally, we're going to make our output by putting a block in front of this comparator here, redstone on top of this block, and then a block here with a 1-tick repeater on top. Our next step is to connect these pistons up to this repeater. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a block directly in front of this repeater, and then we're going to extend out this block line all the way along the length of the pistons, like so. Then we're going to put redstone on every one of these blocks. Finally, to finish off this pulse extender, you have to go into the hopper above the torch here and put 12 of any stackable item inside the hopper. Now all we have to do to finish up the opening circuit is to connect the opening circuit to the closing circuit. To do this, we're going to put a redstone torch on this block here after this line of redstone. In front of this torch, there's going to be a sticky piston facing out this way. On top of this piston, there's going to be an upward facing observer. Above this observer, there's going to be a block. And then we're going to place blocks like this. It's going to be a block here, a glass block here, then 2 more blocks here, and then we're going to run this block line all the way over to this input here. Then we're going to put redstone on top of all of these blocks. The next step is to extend this redstone line until it is out to here, where it's 1 away from being in line with this, and place a 4-tick repeater right here, and then 2 redstone dust after it. Behind this repeater, there's going to be a block, and then there'll be a block here, both with redstone on top of them. So now that we're done with our entire door circuit, we're going to make the input system. So we're going to go over here, we're going to go up 1, 2, and then out 1 like this. And on this block is where our lever is going to go. So we're going to put our lever here. Then 2 blocks below this block, we're going to put another block with redstone on top of it. And then in front of this block here, we're going to have another block with a repeater on top of it. And then in front of that repeater, we're going to have a block with redstone dust on it. And then in front of that redstone dust, we're going to have another block. And then in front of that block, we're going to have a block with a 1-tick repeater on it. And then in front of that repeater, we're going to have another block. Future Colonel S here again. I told you all to put a redstone dust right here, but actually you're going to break that, replace that with a block, and put the redstone dust here behind this repeater. Next, we are going to build an alternating glass tower. So we're going to start with a glass here. Then we're going to go down and put one diagonally right here, and then another one here, and you can break that one once you've done that. And then we're going to repeat that pattern all the way down. So diagonally spiraling like this. Once you get to this point, 2 blocks below our spiraling redstone here, we're going to build out a block in front of this glass block. We're going to put a repeater on that block, and then a block in front of that repeater, and then another glass block right here. And then we're going to make another glass staircase, so we're going to go down like this, and keep that diagonal pattern going like we did before. This one is going to go all the way down to the ground. And then once we are all the way at the ground, we're going to put redstone here, and then redstone on top of every single glass block we just placed. Future Colonel S here for the last time, I swear. We are actually going to put a 2-tick repeater right here and redstone behind this on our bottommost glass tower here, instead of a redstone right there. Once you're done with that, the lever should be properly hooked up to the entire door. And our next step is to place in the sand, because as you can see, we have nothing in our door right now, it's just pistons. So starting from the right, you can go over to the obsidian and place down sand until you see it surface at the top here. You want it 1 above the block of obsidian. Once all your sand is in, it should look like this. Keep in mind that the level the sand finishes at is going to be floor level, so I'm just going to put in a temporary floor here. Once you have all your sand in and your input system hooked up, you can go over and test it out. And as you can see, all the blocks rise rather nicely. They go all the way up, 10 high, in a very satisfying animation. Then, once you turn the lever back off again, it does take a little while, but the blocks will begin to fall. After all the pistons have retracted, you can see down here the pistons are beginning to retract all the way down. And then soon they will fall, and your door is completely open. Thank you all so much for watching this tutorial. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and comment what you want me to build next. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's completely free and it helps out a ton. See you in the next video.